Hey everyone, I'm here today to talk all about how to create client-focused content for your brand, and specifically, why would you want to create client-focused content in the first place, right? Client-focused content means that you are balancing the needs of you, your brand, with the needs of your clients or your audience, so they actually stick around and pay attention to you. Obviously, that sounds like it would be a goal of yours, and that really holds true whether you're a blogger or influencer, a course creator, or a regular service provider who's creating content as a marketing mechanism for your business. So in that vein, I'm going to be doing a four-part series following the old wedding poem, Old, New, Borrowed, and Blue. The things a bride should, at least in the North American sense, be wearing on her wedding day. And I like using this. I've actually taught on this particular poem for like 5 years or so now. And I like using it because it's really memorable and you can turn around after watching this video and apply it immediately. So to start the content series off, let's focus on old today, as in old content. So how do you balance old content with other content in your business, in the content that you're creating? So whether we're talking about a simple one social media platform content plan, or whether we're talking about your whole network of content, right? You're going to have old content that you've created in the past. And if you're starting out fresh today, you're a brand new baby business, you will eventually have old content. And actually, if you're starting out, maybe as you create this content, you'll create it even better than some of us did when we first started. So that might be helpful for you as well. So we're going to start by revisiting old Cornerstone content. And there's a couple different ways you could do that. But first, let's talk about what Cornerstone content is. The way I teach content plans are you should have 3, maybe 4 content buckets. And when you have these content buckets, you have the ability to categorize what you're talking about. Having those buckets, make sure that you stay on brand. You don't start talking about your favorite, tea latte flavor just because you happen to be interested in it today, right? You have the ability to stay on brand by keeping anything you talk about within one of those content buckets. That said, you might have like 20 topics in a bucket, but that bucket still is a category in itself. And you can create one epic piece of content that really just flushes out that entire bucket, right? That's your cornerstone content. If you're doing a blog, this is going to be like a 3, 4, 5, 6,000 word epic article that really covers this entire subject, this entire thing in depth. If you are creating a content plan around which credit cards you should apply for to get the most bang for your buck with like miles and like cash back and everything, you're probably going to have a pretty epic piece on the overall strategy one might use. And then you can have an epic piece on the best ones for a person who does casual traveling, the best ones for people who don't really want to use them for travel at all. Those might be your 3 cornerstone topic pieces, right? So you might have a ton of subtopics, but that cornerstone piece of content is kind of like the be all end all resource for your audience on that particular topic. Now, if you know anything about architecture and building, and way back like millennia ago when they first started building structures that stood the test of time, there was that first stone that you laid. They called it the cornerstone because everything else kind of moved out from around it. So everything else in your content bucket has to be semi-related to that cornerstone piece. It all kind of falls within, and you can expand upon it. You can talk about it in many different ways, but it's got to stick on that topic, and that's how you stay on brand. So now we're going to go back to that whole revisiting your cornerstone content idea. You can revisit in 2, maybe 3 different ways. One, you can repost it as is. If your cornerstone piece is a really good podcast episode and you happened to record it 3 months ago or 3 years ago, you can repost the link today. You don't have to let it die, you have the ability to do that. If it's a blog post, it's if it's search engine optimized, hopefully Google's still finding it, but you can still repost it today. Same with a video. Whatever the piece is, you can repost it exactly as is. You can also repost it and pair it with a new introductory story or analogy or metaphor. The benefit of doing it this way is you may have pieces of that story that just they didn't attract a certain segment of your audience. But now that you pair it with a different story, You might be someone who can connect with them, whereas, 3 months ago when you posted it, you were not someone who could connect with them. So you can actually expand the reach of these pieces by having different analogies or introductory stories that you use to share that old content. So that was number two. The third way that you can revisit your old content is just by parceling out a piece of it. So if I were going to do that to this very video right here, I could take just this one segment and say, here's how you repurpose just a small piece of your content. And I could clip this out of this video and repost it that way. And then I could, link it to the other two and say, here are the other two ways you can repurpose Cornerstone content. I could also link it to what is Cornerstone content in the first place, right? So these are all ways that you can very easily revisit Cornerstone content, hit that old of the old, new, borrowed, and blue poem. And as we move into the next three, the new, borrowed, and blue, this is how you're going to balance the content that you are sharing so that you are, yes, fulfilling your brand's duties with the content. You are using the old content to sell your products, gain subscribers, things like that, but you're also balancing it in a way that is really client focused. So if it's really good information, good how-to information that people want to hear from you, they know that they can come to you as a resource. And as they start balancing it with the other categories, they're going to have some entertainment, some good thought provoking things along the way to help keep them in there. All right.